rookie who has the NBA world stunned? Nobody expected a rookie to walk into the NBA spotlight and immediately make legends stop talking about the past and start talking about the future. But that is exactly what is happening with Caleb Wilson. A young player who entered the league with potential is now creating a level of excitement that has fans asking one unbelievable question. Did the Chicago Bulls just find the next superstar who can change their entire destiny? For years, Bulls fans have been searching for the next face of the franchise. After the unforgettable era of Michael Jordan and the rise of Derrick Rose, the organization has struggled to find a player capable of bringing back that same energy, fear, and hope. But now, after just a short time on the court, Caleb Wilson is making people believe something special could be happening in Chicago. During Summer League, Wilson did something that immediately caught the attention of the entire basketball world. He did not look like a normal rookie trying to adjust to the speed of the NBA. Instead, he played with confidence, control, and maturity that reminded many observers of experienced all-star. His ability to score, create opportunities for teammates, attack defenders, and compete on both ends of the floor has made NBA analysts question just how high his ceiling can truly be. One of the loudest voices praising Wilson was Draymond Green. The four-time All-Star and NBA champion made a statement that shocked many fans, saying Wilson might be the most special player in the entire draft class. What made his comment even more interesting was that Draymond did not describe Wilson as a finished product. Instead, he pointed out that the rookie still has room to grow, which makes his current production even more impressive. Think about that for a moment. If a player is already dominating before fully understanding his own abilities, what happens when the game slows down, his body develops, and his confidence continues to rise? That question is exactly why so many people are fascinated by Caleb Wilson. His unique combination of size, athleticism, skill, and basketball instincts has created comparisons to some of the greatest players the league has ever seen. Some see flashes of Kevin Durant because of his scoring ability and smooth shooting. Others see Kevin Garnett because of his intensity, versatility, and competitive mindset. Some believe his long-term potential could reach the level of modern superstars who can control every part of the game. But the biggest storyline might be the connection between Caleb Wilson and Michael Jordan. Both players share the legendary North Carolina background, and now Wilson is being compared to the greatest Chicago Bull of all time. Those comparisons bring enormous pressure. But they also show how quickly Wilson has captured the imagination of basketball fans everywhere. Of course, hype alone does not create greatness. Every young player must prove themselves when the lights become brighter and opponents become stronger. The NBA is filled with talented prospects who were once called future stars but never reached that level. The difference with Caleb Wilson is that people around the league are not only impressed by his talent, they are impressed by his mentality, his work ethic, and the way he approaches the game. The question now is no longer whether Caleb Wilson has potential. The question is, how far can this young star actually go? Can he become the player who finally brings the Bulls back into championship conversations? Can he live up to the massive expectations already placed on his shoulders? And could Chicago have discovered the next face of the NBA? Before we continue breaking down Caleb Wilson's incredible rise, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments, and if you believe Caleb Wilson can become an NBA superstar, comment 1 below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we are following every major NBA story, every rising star, and every moment that could change the future of basketball. The NBA legends who believe Caleb Wilson is something different. The NBA has seen hundreds of young prospects enter the league with enormous expectations. Some were called the next great scorer. Some were labeled the next franchise-changing superstar. But very few rookies have created a wave of excitement where former champions, all-stars, and basketball legends all stop and say the same thing. This kid might be special. That is exactly what is happening with Caleb Wilson. The biggest reason the hype around Wilson continues to grow is because the praise is not coming only from fans or social media. It is coming from people who have competed at the highest level of basketball and understand what true greatness looks like. Draymond Green's reaction immediately grabbed attention because he is not known for casually giving huge compliments. Throughout his career, Draymond has played alongside some of the greatest players in NBA, huge complimenters, Clay. He has seen what championship level talent looks like. So when he says Caleb Wilson could potentially become the best player in his draft class, people listen. What impressed Draymond the most was not just the scoring. It was the way Wilson played the game. The rookie showed the ability to handle the ball like a guard despite having the size of a forward. He could create shots, attack mismatches, make smart passes, and defend multiple positions. For a player standing around 6'1", that skill combination is extremely rare. Many young big men enter the NBA with athletic ability but struggle when defenses adjust. Wilson appears different because his game is built around versatility. He does not depend on one skill. He can hurt opponents in many ways. That is why comparisons to Kevin Durant began appearing. Like Durant, Wilson has the ability to score over defenders because of his height and shooting touch. When he rises for a mid-range jumper, defenders often look helpless because they cannot contest his release point. His confidence attacking one-on-one situations makes him dangerous in ways that usually take years for young players to develop. But not everyone sees Durant as the closest comparison. Former NBA star John Wall believes Wilson reminds him more of Kevin Garnett. The reason is simple: intensity. Garnett was not just talented, he played every possession with emotion, toughness, and a competitive edge. Those same qualities have appeared in Wilson's early performances. Then there is Jay Williams, who believes Wilson's potential could reach even higher. He suggested that while Wilson already shows similarities to great players, his ultimate ceiling could become something closer to a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those comparisons are massive. Durant, Garnett, Giannis, these are not ordinary names. These are players who changed how basketball is played. But what makes Wilson's story even more interesting is that he is not just being praised for his physical abilities. People around him continue to mention his mindset and personality. In a league where talent alone is not enough, having the discipline and mentality to improve every season separates stars from legends. The Chicago Bulls are hoping they have finally found that type of player. For years, the franchise has searched for someone who can become the centerpiece of a new era. A player who can bring excitement back to the United Center and give fans a reason to believe again. Caleb Wilson is still at the beginning of his journey. There will be challenges, pressure, and moments where he must prove that the hype is real. But right now, the basketball world is watching closely because something about this rookie feels different. And the biggest question remains, are we witnessing the beginning of another NBA superstar story? The numbers that made the NBA pay attention. Before Caleb Wilson became the center of NBA conversations, there was one thing that had to happen first. He had to prove that the excitement was not just based on potential. In basketball, talent gets attention, but production creates belief. And Wilson did exactly that. From the moment he stepped onto the Summer League stage, he played like someone who already belonged. Instead of looking overwhelmed by the speed and physicality of professional basketball, he looked comfortable. He attacked defenders, controlled the tempo, and showed the confidence of a player who believed he could dominate every possession. One of the biggest moments came when Wilson exploded for 35 points in his Summer League debut. For a rookie playing his first major NBA showcase, that performance immediately changed the conversation. It was no longer just about what he could become someday. People started asking what he could become right now. The most impressive part was how he scored. Wilson was not simply taking advantage of smaller defenders or relying on athletic plays. He showed a complete offensive package. He could attack the basket with power, create separation with his handle, knock down difficult jump shots, and make plays for teammates when defenses collapsed. That level of versatility is what separates good players from special ones. Throughout NBA history, the most dangerous stars have always been players who force opponents to make impossible decisions. If defenders play too close, Wilson can use his size and strength to attack. If they give him space, he has the shooting ability to punish them. If help arrives, he has the vision to find open teammates. That is the kind of skill set that creates franchise players. His college performance also added fuel to the excitement. At North Carolina, Wilson delivered numbers that placed him among the most productive freshmen in program history. The comparisons became even louder when fans looked back at Michael Jordan's freshman statistics and realized Wilson had produced at a higher level during his first season. Of course, nobody is saying statistics alone make someone the next Michael Jordan. Basketball greatness requires years of improvement, leadership, and success. But the fact that Wilson's name is even being mentioned alongside legends shows how impressive his rise has been. The Chicago Bulls did not simply draft a talented player. They may have found someone who changes the direction of their entire organization. For a franchise searching for hope, Caleb Wilson represents something bigger than numbers. He represents possibility. But the next challenge is even greater. Can he continue dominating when teams start studying him? Can he handle the pressure that comes with being labeled a future superstar? Because in the NBA, the first impression gets attention. The second season creates legends. The rookie battle that showed Wilson's superstar mentality. Every young player eventually faces the moment when talent meets adversity. It is easy to shine when everything goes perfectly. The real test comes when the opponent is prepared, the pressure increases, and expectations become heavier. For Caleb Wilson, that moment arrived during a highly anticipated Summer League matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers. The game featured another exciting young prospect, creating a matchup that basketball fans wanted to see. While the Bulls struggled as a team and eventually suffered a difficult loss, Wilson once again showed why so many people believe he is different. The final score did not tell the entire story. Wilson remained the brightest part of Chicago's performance. With the offense running through him, he displayed the confidence of a player who understood that the team needed him to create opportunities. He finished with 21 points and 8 rebounds, continuing to show that his impact was not limited to scoring. He competed defensively, fought for rebounds, and continued making plays even when the game became difficult. That mentality is what impressed many former players. A lot of rookies can score when they are comfortable. Superstar players find ways to influence games even when things are not going their way. Wilson's ability to stay aggressive without forcing the game is one of the reasons analysts are excited. He does not look like a player chasing statistics. He looks like a player trying to control winning basketball. Former NBA players pointed out that his movement, decision-making, and patience are unusual for someone so young. The biggest challenge for any rookie is learning that NBA defenders are smarter, faster, and stronger than anyone they've faced before. But Wilson has already shown signs that he can adapt. His confidence is another factor that stands out. When asked about his goals, Wilson made it clear that he believes in himself. He does not want to simply have a successful career. He wants to become one of the best players in basketball. Some people may call that unrealistic, but every legendary player had that same mentality before the world believed in them. Michael Jordan believed he could become the greatest. Kobe Bryant believed he could reach another level. LeBron James believed he could dominate the league before he ever played an NBA game. Confidence does not guarantee greatness, but greatness almost always requires confidence. And right now, Caleb Wilson has that belief. Why NBA stars see something rare in Caleb Wilson? The NBA is a league built on greatness. Every season, new players arrive with dreams of becoming superstars. But only a few possess the combination of physical tools, skill, and mentality required to reach that level. Many around the league believe Caleb Wilson might have that rare combination. One reason scouts and players are fascinated by Wilson is because he does not fit into a traditional category. He is too skilled to be considered just a power forward. He is too big to be guarded like a normal wing. He creates matchup problems every time he steps onto the court. His size gives him advantages. His skill makes those advantages even more dangerous. A defender may think he can force Wilson away from the basket, but then Wilson uses his handle and shooting ability. Another defender may try to pressure him, but Wilson can use his strength and passing vision. That unpredictability is what makes elite players difficult to stop. Current NBA stars have also started paying attention. Anthony Edwards praised Wilson's potential, recognizing that while the rookie still has things to learn, the talent is obvious. That type of acknowledgement from established stars matters because players understand the difference between hype and real ability. The same goes for the reaction surrounding Stephen Curry. Curry built his career by developing a unique skill set that changed basketball forever. When players like him recognize young talent, fans naturally pay attention. The reason Wilson receives so much praise is not because people think he is already perfect. It is because they see the foundation of greatness. The NBA has always been about development. Players are not judged only by what they are today, but by what they can become tomorrow. And that is what makes Caleb Wilson such an exciting story. The Michael Jordan connection creating massive pressure. Few names in basketball history carry more weight than Michael Jordan. His legacy with the Chicago Bulls is unmatched, and anyone compared to him immediately faces impossible expectations. For Caleb Wilson, that comparison arrived almost instantly. The connection begins with North Carolina. Both Jordan and Wilson played for the Tar Heels before entering the NBA. Both became known for their confidence and desire to compete at the highest level, but the biggest difference is the era they entered. Jordan entered the league before modern training, advanced analytics, and global basketball development transformed the game. Wilson enters a league where every weakness is analyzed and every mistake is shared instantly. That makes his journey even more challenging. However, the Jordan comparison is not only about statistics, it is about leadership. The Bulls do not just need someone who can score points, they need someone who can become the identity of the franchise. That is why Wilson's mentality matters so much. Young stars who become legends usually embrace pressure instead of running from it. They understand that expectations are not punishment, they are a sign that people believe they can achieve something special. Wilson has already shown that confidence. Now comes the hardest part, proving it over many seasons. The biggest challenge standing between Wilson and greatness. Talent can open the door, but consistency determines who stays inside. For Caleb Wilson, the excitement is real, but the NBA journey has only begun. Every superstar has faced moments where the league tested them. Opponents will adjust, defensive schemes will become more complicated, expectations will become heavier. The question is how Wilson responds. The best players in NBA history were not successful because everything was easy. They became great because they improved after every challenge. Wilson must continue developing his body, decision-making, and leadership. He must learn how to handle pressure when teams focus their entire game plan around stopping him. But based on what he has already shown, there are reasons for optimism. His work ethic, confidence, and willingness to compete suggest that he understands greatness requires constant improvement. The next few years will reveal whether the hype becomes reality. But one thing is already clear: the NBA is watching. Could Caleb Wilson become the face of the Chicago Bulls? The Chicago Bulls have spent years searching for their next superstar. Since the glory days of Michael Jordan, the franchise has experienced unforgettable moments, but finding a player capable of carrying the organization into a new era has been difficult. That is why Caleb Wilson represents so much hope. A true franchise player changes everything. He changes how opponents view your team. He changes how free agents view your organization. He changes the energy inside the arena. If Wilson continues developing, he could become the centerpiece the Bulls have been waiting for. But building around a young star requires patience. The organization must surround him with the right teammates, coaching, and development system. Great players need great environments. The future of Chicago basketball could depend on how they handle this opportunity. The NBA world is waiting for Caleb Wilson's next chapter. Right now, Caleb Wilson is standing at the center of one of the most exciting stories in the NBA. A player who entered the league with expectations is now carrying something much bigger: the hope of an entire franchise and the attention of basketball fans around the world. But the most interesting part of Wilson's journey is that the story is still being written. The comparisons have already become enormous. Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, Giannis Antetokounmpo, even Michael Jordan, because of his connection to North Carolina and Chicago. Those names represent some of the greatest players basketball has ever produced, and being mentioned alongside them creates a level of pressure that few young athletes ever experience. However, history shows that comparisons do not create legends. Work does. Every superstar in NBA history had a moment where people questioned whether they could truly reach the expectations placed on them. Even the greatest players had weaknesses early in their careers. The difference was their ability to recognize those weaknesses and turn them into strengths. That is the next challenge for Caleb Wilson. The NBA will not allow him to surprise teams forever. Coaches will study his tendencies. Defenders will learn his favorite moves. Opponents will challenge him physically and mentally every night. The question is not whether Wilson will face adversity. The question is how he will respond when adversity arrives. That is what separates talented players from legendary ones. A player can have incredible athletic ability. A player can have a beautiful jump shot. A player can dominate summer league and college basketball. But becoming a true NBA superstar requires consistency, leadership, and the ability to perform when the entire world is watching. The good news for Wilson is that the qualities people praise most about him are not only his physical gifts. Former players continue to mention his competitiveness, his confidence, and his approach to the game. They see a young player who wants to improve, who accepts the challenge of becoming better, and who understands that talent alone will never be enough. That mentality could become the foundation of his future, because the NBA has changed. Today's stars are not only expected to score, they must lead. They must communicate. They must make teammates better. They must represent their organizations both on and off the court. For the Chicago Bulls, this is the opportunity they have been waiting for. For years, fans have wanted a reason to believe again. They wanted a player who could bring excitement back to the United Center. Someone who could make young fans dream and make opponents respect Chicago once again. Caleb Wilson has the tools to become that player. But the Bulls must understand that building around a young superstar is a long process. They cannot expect one rookie to solve every problem overnight. They must surround him with the right coaching, the right teammates, and a culture that allows him to grow. Great players are not created alone. Michael Jordan needed the right organization around him. LeBron James needed the right supporting cast. Stephen Curry needed the right system to unlock his greatness. The same will be true for Caleb Wilson. His journey will not be defined by one summer league performance or one season. It will be defined by how he handles every challenge that comes next. And maybe that is what makes his story so exciting. The NBA is always searching for the next superstar. Every generation eventually finds someone who changes the conversation and gives fans a new reason to watch. Right now, Caleb Wilson has given the basketball world a reason to pay attention. The next chapter will determine whether he becomes a promising young player or the beginning of something much bigger. Because sometimes, before greatness arrives, there is always a moment when everyone starts asking the same question. Are we watching the birth of the next NBA legend? The lesson behind Caleb Wilson's rise and the future of NBA greatness. The story of Caleb Wilson is not only about a talented rookie making headline. It is a story about ambition, preparation, patience, and the difficult journey every great athlete must take before reaching the highest level. In sports, potential creates excitement. But potential alone does not create championships, legendary careers, or lasting impact. The players who become icons are the ones who understand that success is built every single day. Caleb Wilson has already achieved something special. He has made NBA legends, analysts, and fans stop what they are doing and talk about his future. That does not happen often. Many talented young players enter the league, but very few create the kind of immediate attention Wilson has created. However, the next step is the most important one. The challenge for Wilson is no longer proving that he has talent. The challenge is proving that he can continue improving when the entire league begins preparing for him. Every superstar eventually reaches that point, the moment when opponents stop being surprised and start creating specific strategies to slow them down. That is when true greatness begins. The players who become legends are not the ones who succeed only when everything is easy. They're the ones who find solutions when the game becomes difficult. If Wilson wants to reach the level of the players he is being compared to, he must continue developing every part of his game. His shooting must become more consistent. His decision-making must continue improving. His body must become stronger. His leadership must grow. A superstar is not created by one skill. A superstar is created by becoming complete. The Chicago Bulls also have an important responsibility. Finding a potential franchise player is only the first step. The organization must build an environment where Wilson can develop into the player everyone believes he can become. They must make smart decisions. They must surround him with players who complement his abilities. They must create a culture where improvement and winning are connected, because history has shown that even the greatest talents need support. Michael Jordan became a champion when the Bulls built the right foundation around him. Kobe Bryant had the Lakers organization behind him. Stephen Curry became unstoppable when Golden State created the perfect system for his strengths. Caleb Wilson's future will depend on a similar combination of talent, development, and opportunity. But beyond basketball, his story provides a lesson that applies to everyone. Greatness does not happen because people believe in you. Greatness happens when you continue working after people believe in you. The attention, the comparisons, and the praise are exciting, but they can also become distractions. The players who survive the pressure are the ones who stay focused on improvement. Wilson must continue chasing the next level instead of becoming comfortable with the current one. That mindset is what separates stars from legend. The NBA has always been built around new generations. Every era eventually finds players who capture the imagination of fans and inspire millions around the world. Maybe Caleb Wilson becomes that player for the next generation. Maybe he becomes the face of the Chicago Bulls. Maybe he becomes one of the biggest names in basketball. Only time will answer those questions. But one thing is already clear. His journey is worth watching. So to every young athlete watching this story, remember this lesson. Talent can open doors, but discipline keeps them open. Confidence can start the journey, but hard work determines where it ends. And for Caleb Wilson, the journey has just begun. If you enjoyed this NBA breakdown, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with other basketball fans, and subscribe to the channel for more NBA news, player stories, trade updates, and the biggest moments happening around the league. The future of basketball is always being created. And right now, everyone is watching to see what Caleb Wilson becomes next.